morning. You're listening to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance. And now, sharing his knowledge, here's your host, Matt Libby.
Good morning. Welcome to Insurance Matchmaking. Got a guest today, not in the insurance world, and you've maybe heard her she's been on some of the other shows around town, so you've maybe heard Lisa Garcia with Cleanse Wellness Spa.
Good morning.
And I asked her to join me. We had met networking somewhere a while back, but we kind of reconnected recently. We both happen to be sponsors of the Fairfield Glade Ladies Club. And in fact, I guess it was this month. I can start to say last month because they're already sending out the reminders for the March meeting. But they had a silent auction with just a bunch of donations, stuff to raise money because they do a lot. They do scholarships and contribute to a lot of charities around the Upper Cumberland. So they had their silent auction. And normally we'll go to these meetings and we have couple tables set up and we're kind of all bunched together with the other sponsors with some of our materials and stuff. Well, we didn't get to do that this month because it was all Lisa.
Yes, I stole the show, and I wasn't even planning on doing that. I was kind of a little taken back by me being the only sponsor. I'm like, this is kind of lonely. I love those ladies. They do a lot of good. They do good cause giving.
But she, since she sponsored that event, she was like the headline sponsor for that event. So she got a table all to herself, and then she felt lonely. And actually, very ironic. We were talking and found out we both go to Life Church, and then found out like one of her best friends is one of my wife's best friends. Yep. So very ironic that the connections we have because we're both transplants here.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that you were a transplant.
I grew up in Washington.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, and then 20 years in the Army, settled basically spent half of that at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which is Clarksville, Tennessee. So 20-year career, basically about 10 of it spent there, but not at one time. It was like I would go overseas, come back to Fort Campbell, go back and forth. That was kind of my back and forth to the end of my career. So been in Tennessee, and I retired from the Army in 97. Yes, I know I don't sound that old.
Well, thank you for your service. 20 years in the Army is a very great feat, and I'm very respectful of the military. My grandfather was Navy. My uncles were Army. I've got a son who's a Marine currently in Jersey, so we are a military family. And we came from San Diego, which is all military.
Right?
So, I mean, it's right now this morning, rather than being here with you, I could be on Coronado Beach watching the SEAL team in the ocean swim with the dolphins. It's beautiful here, though, too. But, it's a lot of military presence in San Diego.
I got a guy I grew up with. He's a couple years younger than me that he retired from the Navy. He still lives in that area.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So
beautiful.
He gets home a little more often visiting family, but it's a little easier. He's on the West Coast. It's not as big a deal to go from San Diego to, Portland, Oregon area.
Right.
Whereas from here, it's a little bit more of a chore.
Yeah, well,
I'll kind of plug in for Alaska Air. Last Christmas, not this past one, a year ago Christmas, we flew out, surprised our family out there on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Which was the day all the flights, people were getting canceled and everything. Yes. Fortunately, my wife had found, because I grew up in Washington, but we're closer to Portland than we are Seattle. Right. So we always flew in and out of Portland. But she had kind of wanted to go see Seattle, so we're like, well, she found out Alaska Air had a nonstop from Nashville to Seattle, which was very fortunate and kind of a God thing, I think, because
absolutely
we left late. We were an hour and a half, 2-hour delay out because it was bitter cold, just like that bitter cold we had. We didn't have the snow, but if you remember Christmas a year ago, how cold it was. So it was very cold that morning. And what had happened was, like the day before, it was an ice storm there in the Northwest. So all those flights had already been canceled.
Yeah, my kids missed Christmas.
Yeah.
We had two babies in San Diego, my Taylor Elaine and my Jimmy, and neither one of them got to come. They sat at the airport for days.
And just, like I said, just kind of plugging them. But just, if you do go to the West Coast, I know we've got a lot of West Coast transplants here, is they now have a direct to Portland. So Alaska Air will fly out of BNA to PDX or SeaTac, either one, direct flight. And if you can do that, it's great. It's about 5 hours. It's almost like flying overseas.
Right.
When I was in the Army, we'd fly out of New York, and it was a 6-7 hour flight to get to Europe. Yep. So, and of course, But you only get there a couple hours after you leave, because of the time change.
Yes,
we get a couple-hour break.
right.
That's what I used to joke when I left Korea. I landed in Detroit an hour before I left.
Wow.
Because of the international date line. I actually landed technically before I got on the plane.
Wow.
So anyway, like I said, she says, "You got questions for me?" I was like, "No, we'll just have conversation." I love having this. Gets people, hopefully listen. But we do try to get into some meat and potatoes too, as they say. But one of the things I thought of on your stuff, I know, it's about cleaning out, getting toxins out of your body and things like that. One of the things that, for me, I'm realizing, I was diagnosed maybe 2 years ago now. It's how time flies. As type 2 diabetic. I did just have my checkup this week, and I'm happy to announce that the last 2-3 months, I have to go every 3 months, do my blood 2 times in a row now. My A1C was 5.9.
Oh, wow.
So if I'd never been diagnosed diabetic, that doesn't even put you into the we got to watch you for pre-diabetes. They start carrying when it's over 6.
Yeah, 6.5 is type 2.
So one of the things I thought of on that, a question on yours, I know you're not it's not necessarily a weight loss thing, but I was curious, because I could stand to probably still lose about 80 pounds. Does what you do you have certain programs or certain regimens that you recommend for someone that's maybe like myself, as they call pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, to what to do to help combat that and help, maybe lose some weight, which helps considerably?
Absolutely. So we are in the business of internal detox, and that absolutely can change the microbiome in your gut. It can change the way you look at sweets. It can change cravings that you have. Mm-hmm. I had 2 young girls come in, they're sisters from Smithville, and they have had 2 colonics with me, and after the first colonic, they both told me that they've lost 5 pounds. So that's waste. That's not fat.
Right.
And so when we have a lifestyle where we're really busy all the time and we're running from place to place and we're not staying hydrated and we don't have enough fiber in the whole 9 yards, and even if we do all that and we still have a bunch of stress that's shutting down our digestion and keeping us in that fight or flight, our digestion, our motility is going to slow down and our transit time is going to slow down. And so when you deal with impaction, it's not just waste. And the normal person, an average person that's not doing colonics or not moving every day or twice a day is probably carrying between 12 to 18 pounds of waste in their bodies. And people don't believe that, but that's a legitimate study that was put out by Scripps Hospital in San Diego, and that was in 2012. I can't even imagine how much worse it's gotten now. So yes, it does help with weight loss in different reasons. I have another woman that comes to me for the electrolymphatic drainage therapy, and she told me she's lost 6 or 7 pounds and without changing her diet. It was all fluid in her body. Uh-huh. So now she's urinating a lot more. Her rings are looser. Her face does not look as swollen. So everyone comes in for different reasons. The far infrared sauna, another good thing for weight loss. We don't want to hold things in. Our bodies are meant to flow.
Right.
Our bodies are meant for things to pass through us, and those toxins are stored in different places like the lymph and like the large bowel and other places, and we are meant to expel that. And so when we're not expelling it, not only does chronic disease and sickness happen, but also weight gain can happen. That can be huge for insulin resistance. So I'm actually doing a seminar at the Biz Foundry this Tuesday. It's at 5:30 p.m. This is the 27th at 5:30 p.m. And I'm collaborating with a nurse practitioner here in the area named Tiffany Ward. Okay. She works at and runs Tennessee Health and Wellness. And she's going to be talking specifically about weight loss, hormones, and how the colonic that I offer and other services work with a GLP-1 regimen, which is like Ozempic, and people are afraid. Now, I'm completely like an anti-pharmaceutical person. I'm always like totally holistic, right? But GLP-1, those peptides are made by your body naturally, and when they start to fade, there's lots of things that cause insulin resistance, but they have been proven, and they're very safe, to combat that and really help people with that. But one of the issues is that it causes constipation because it slows your digestion, which keeps you fuller longer. So that's where we come in and we make it the experience of being on those types of medications, whether they be short or long term. Right. We make it more manageable. So, yeah, I mean, I would say that we definitely do deal with weight loss issues in our place.
Okay. I remember one of the things that you had mentioned when we were speaking at the Ladies Club luncheon, and then I heard something just like a day or two after that on the radio. It's kind of like when you buy a car and you think you get a unique color until you buy that car, and then it seems like everybody in town has the same car, same
yes,
color.
Everybody has it.
You mentioned something, and I don't think I'd heard it before. And then I heard somebody talking. I don't remember now whose radio spot it was, but the fact of that they're now classifying Alzheimer's, dementia, as type 3 diabetes.
That's correct. That's very correct. So the insulin resistance that we're having in our bodies that's creating the situation of the insulin resistance that's leading to type 2 diabetes is happening in the brain. And so too much insulin in the brain it's very common. And it's funny because when I was growing up, I had maybe one aunt that had some sort of dementia, but it seems like it's very widespread now. And I have a friend in Boston whose best friend was just diagnosed at like 43 years old. So, I mean, what's happening to our society and our people that they are developing these chronic, life-threatening, life endings in many cases issues.
Yeah. And you talked about that young person. People have been in Tennessee for a while, know who Pat Summitt is. And it happened to her. She had, I heard somebody mention somebody about, well, I think my 9-year-old grandfather has early on. I was like, no, that's not early onset.
No.
You may have dementia, but it's not early onset.
Right.
Early onset's when you're in your 40s or 50s, or, even early 60s. But that it's more aggressive.
Yes.
When it's someone that's young. And once we knew, we heard about Pat, it was like within 2 years, she'd passed away.
Yeah, and that's
and it's like
so unfortunate.
where you have older people that have it, and what's hard for the families is dealing with it. I think some of what you were mentioning about it's like seems like more, and we talk about that with autism, and there's a lot of things.
Right.
And I think especially with the dementia and some of those things, I think we're seeing it more because we are living longer. So more people are getting to the age where they're hitting it. And also we've come up with ways to care for them. People who live alone, they forget to eat.
Correct.
And they'll end up wasting away, literally starving to death because someone's not there to take care of them. And I think we're seeing a little bit more people living with dementia because we have some more care systems in place.
Well, we definitely have more memory care units and systems in place and different medicines that they're trying to experiment with to try to help mitigate this circumstance. But I have been reading articles that say that for the very first time in many, many years, my generation may not live out or outlive my parents.
Yeah.
Because of all the environmental toxins and all the stuff that's going on with our food supply and water, right? So that's why it's important to be careful with what we put in our bodies. The source and the quality of it is really important. So people don't understand when they go through a fast food place really what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more than just being bad for you.
Junk
food back in the day, it was a Hershey bar that maybe had 6 ingredients in it and a Pepsi that had maybe 10. And now it's truly junk food. It's all chemically processed. So there's like 100 ingredients.
Yeah.
And so when you're putting 100 ingredients in your body in each bite of food, that's affecting our brains and our central nervous system and just everything about our health.
All righty. Well, we're coming up on that break I mentioned earlier. Lisa, whenever I have anybody, it's like, we got already there. It's like, we just started.
No, it's all right.
We'll take a short break, and I actually thought of how I'm going to tie this into insurance. So
Okay.
We'll be right back.
All right.
Hi, this is James Green, your local Twin Lakes security consultant. As a business owner, you juggle a lot. Worries are part of the job, but security doesn't have to be. With Twin Lakes Security, you can build a custom security package offering 24/7 protection. Our fully integrated solution simplifies monitoring and control through our mobile app. Secure your system, view live streaming videos, manage access, and regulate energy use, all with just a few clicks. Call us today for a free quote at 931-528-2005 or visit us at twinlakes.net.
TN number C-0026.
Looking to do some remodeling? Just getting organized? Consider donating your extra household goods and materials to the Habitat Restore. Not only will you be supporting your local community, but all donations are tax deductible. Our inventory is constantly changing. Our prices are well below retail, as well as one-of-a-kind items. Every day's another opportunity for a new deal at Habitat Restore. Pay us a visit at our new location at 560 South Jefferson Avenue, or visit our website at uchabitat.org.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right. Welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. My guest, Lisa, with Cleanse Wellness Spa. And we talked a little bit on the break. It's like, the name of my show is Insurance Matchmaking. All we've talked about is colonics and dementia. But but one of the things is, because what I'll run into a lot of times, especially, with health insurance or life insurance, that especially life insurance, height and weight makes a difference. Smoking makes a difference. It's crazy how much more. Just if you decide that you want to get life insurance and you're a tobacco user, your rates are so much higher. So we're not going to even go down that road because
Right.
you got bad habits. We're not going to be able to fix those. Or maybe she might be able to help you fix those bad habits. But getting healthier or losing some weight or doing something that curbs that, where you don't get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, because that's basically, it's very hard to get insurance at that time. Now, if you're on Medicare, there's no health questions for Medicare. If you're doing an ACA plan or your group health plan, you don't have any health questions for that, and you can get health care. What I run into a lot is with the self-employed,
Right.
that if they get a tax credit based on their income, it's still not affordable. So I do have affordable alternatives, but those affordable alternatives aren't a guaranteed issue. You have to be able to pass the health underwriting. You have to answer the questions, and if you've been in the hospital because of bad health, if you had a heart attack, if you have type 2 diabetes, you either can't get that coverage or it's going to be much more expensive because they're already planning in the underwriting that, hey, you're not all that healthy, we're going to charge more. So that's part of where I can recommend that, hey, if you're thinking about buying some life insurance, but you're a little overweight and you're not sure if you're pre-diabetic, hey, get some help and knock it out before you try to get that insurance.
And the services that we offer are very helpful for that. We have had clients that, along with other lifestyle changes, reverse type 2 diabetes, reverse lymphedema, reverse high blood pressure, even with our saunas, as a part of it, right? Like, we don't claim to do that, but as a part of it, their doctors told them, well, come in and do this, come in and do that. And it's really important to know that preventative health is big. I mean, our office is able, under the law, to take FSA and HSA monies. We don't take insurance, but we do take health savings plans.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Thank you for bringing that up, because that was one of the things I did mention was there anything where insurance helps pay anything for your services? So you're saying that there is some, or you can use your HSA money for that. You can use
the FSA and HSA money for any of our services and any of our plans. And I also am working currently with somebody who was sent to me by a doctor to stop smoking. So I'm also a national board certified health and wellness coach. And actually the VA works with national board certified health and wellness coaches. So that particular type of coach with that type of certification works with our veterans. And that's one of the things that I also offer. I don't just offer the cleansing services. We also offer coaching services for lifestyle change, because that's really where it starts.
Now, is that something, do they have to be able to be referred by the VA clinic to do that for through veteran service, or is there paperwork they can fill out after they've received services from you?
They would have to check with the VA, and there are certain billing codes that there are, set, but if they can get reimbursed, that might be a possibility.
Yeah.
But I do know that veterans specifically, I've seen a lot floating around on the social media pages from the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches that they do in fact work with veterans specifically.
Huh.
So, and that's on lifestyle change. That's on how you're going to move more, how you're going to eat better, what's going on in your brain that you want to. So if they have PTSD, how can they? So they're told to do these breathing exercises and belly breathing and stuff. How can they put themselves on a schedule and really follow through with that? Well, that's where working with a coach is very helpful.
Right. Now, do you recommend certain, sometimes referred to as nutraceuticals, the supplements? Do you have a certain line you prefer, or do you kind of stay away from that?
Well, for us, we like to stay in our lane, and we do have a great line of probiotics, prebiotics, and different types of detoxing and parasite cleansing and stuff that we sell at our place. But nutraceutical therapies are very, very advantageous for people that want to make that lifestyle change. And when somebody coaches with me, we usually go over it at that time. But, it's like, rather than me tell them what to eat, because I'm not their doctor, I don't write their meal plan.
Okay.
I ask them what they know about what they should be eating and not eating, and then I ask them how we can work together to find the right answers for them, and how we can incorporate it so that they're not leaving my office super excited, and so they go to Juicy's Wellness for a wrap for lunch, and then by dinner time they're at Burger King. We want to try to fix that. We want to try to fix that mindset, because that's a real issue with people. It's the lifestyle change. Everyone goes to the doctor, and their job is to diagnose and treat.
Yeah.
And really, it's how did we get here? How did we become? You weren't born. Type 2 diabetes is a lifestyle related condition. So something that you're doing is feeding it or starving it, right?
Yeah.
And that's for everybody. Diabetes is rampant in my family. My dad, my grandparents, almost everybody has it. So I have to be very careful because my DNA's already showing colon cancer, check. Diabetes, check. High blood pressure, check. I don't want to be like that. I have 6 kids and 3 grandkids, and I want to be able to live and enjoy.
Yeah.
I want to be able to enjoy them. And like you said, I was lonely at the ladies' event. Being a colon hydrotherapist in Tennessee, where nobody really understands, like where I'm from, obviously it's a lot more popular, but here people are just starting to really understand what it is, and they are starting to love it, but it is a lonely business.
Yeah.
Colon hydrotherapy is a lonely business, I'll tell you right now. Oh, my goodness, yeah. But more and more people are coming in.
It's not polite dinner conversation.
You know, it's not, and that's why I love being in here with you, because almost every single networking event I go to is surrounded by a meal.
Yeah.
So I'm having to tell 14 men and 6 women who are eating hamburgers and fish and chips what I do and why they should clean their colons and why it's advantageous. And it's just such a non-mealtime conversation. It just seems like that. We always network
Saturday
around food.
Night Live theme. Wah, wah, old Debbie Downer.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a breakfast for the Rotary or if it's the B&C or even a guest at B&I. I'm everywhere I am. There's food there, and nobody wants to talk about food and poop.
Yeah.
Except for me. I'll be happy to do that. That's my thing. I'm the poop checker, as my kids call me. So yeah, you got to talk about it. It seems like everyone's constipated or they have IBS. Everyone's having digestive issues.
Yeah.
And that's when they come to me.
Right.
They come to me when there's not another option. They come to me when they've been to the ER and the doctor said, well, you probably have kidney stones. Let's do an x-ray. And instead of kidney stones, they're completely full of waste. Or they think they're having appendicitis and instead it's full of waste. Or they're having this reflux that won't go away and the heartburn is terrible and their transverse colon is mega stuffed with waste and they don't even realize it because they're like, what do you mean? We're going to the restroom once or twice a day. Well, you're completely backed up.
Yeah.
So that's when they come to me.
Well, I know, and especially kind of like in your line of work, that one of those things you have to be careful what you say. I know that a guy that marketed a product because he had used this product and helped him get over his cancer, but but it was like you can't market it that way. Nope. You can't say it cures cancer. But the one thing I thought of is, and I don't know if it even applies, because obviously you can't cure it, but your therapies, do they help people with Crohn's? I realize that I know that, and like I said, if you say, I can't really get into that, I will.
So Crohn's is an interesting beast because we want to stay away from doing colonics when people are having an active flare-up with Crohn's or an active flare-up with diverticulitis. Have I seen people with a prescription from their doctors with Crohn's? Yes, I have. And they're safe because they're under their doctor's supervision. Diverticulosis is a little bit different. I'm fine with that. And it's diverticulitis to a point. You know, we don't want to do anything that would ever put pressure on a colon that could rip, right? So when you have inflammation in the walls of the colon, that mucosal layer can be at a point where it's thinning. And so we want to be very careful. And we have a really long intake sheet that we take information on. No contraindicated people without a prescription will be seen. But I will say that autoimmune is kind of rampant, and that is an autoimmune. And so Hashimoto's, IBS, diverticulosis, and then, of course, some Crohn's and diverticulitis, usually with a prescription, can be helped because we are trying to wash out the bad bacteria and let the good bacteria grow. And so some people say, won't it wash out all the bacteria? No. What will wash out all the bacteria is an antibiotic prescription. It kills 90% of the bacteria and microbiome in your gut. And the best way to get those back is honestly a great pre and probiotic, colonics, and intermittent fasting, to be honest with you. That is amazing for building that microbiome in your gut. 24-hour fasts are really great for that. And
I think we had this covered. You don't necessarily promote a vegan diet. I think you're kind of carnivorous or herbivore like me.
So I am an omnivore, right? Which is we eat meat, we eat vegetables. I'm really careful where I source my food from. I will not buy grocery store meat. I buy it from a person that I know is grass finishing and grass feeding their cows. I also have my own chickens, so I have my own eggs. I know that there's people out there that get frustrated. They live in an apartment. They can't afford grass-fed meat for their family. Well, do the best you can to source them the best you can and cut back, because meat, the problem with meat is that it's slow to digest. So a true carnivore from mouth to anus is 9 feet, the digestive tract.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is much longer than that. I mean, our large bowel by itself is 5.5 to 6 feet long, and our small intestine is 23 feet long. So, and that doesn't even count the esophagus. So chew your food well. Also, I feel like DNA plays a part in it, right? So if you're indigenously from a place where your people over there really don't, like, people that are living over 100 don't have access to fish. Let's say it's not on an ocean, but so like it's, and they're eating goat and nothing grows there because it's really freezing cold. It's whatever creates a healthy microbiome in your gut for you. So it's so everyone is different. So that's why some people, when they have cancer, they can go on a juice fast, and it can be tremendous in helping to kill that cancer. But that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody. It's not a one size fits all.
Right.
That's why people get kind of hung up on that, especially in the Western medical world. Like, okay, so this person has cancer. We're gonna do these 3 things, but that might not be the same for everybody. I have people that have cancer that are coming to see me. One person in particular comes and gets the electrolymphatic drainage therapy before he takes his chemo in the evening. So he's being treated by medical doctors at a place in Georgia, and they have the same equipment that I have at my place. And so when he's there getting his chemo there in clinic, they do that lymphatic drainage prior to his chemo, when through his port. But when he's at home and he's taking the chemo in the form of pills, he gets the electrolymphatic drainage from me and then takes his chemo that night. And I also have a lot of post-breast cancer patients. So after the chemo is done, then we can get into the colonics. And I have some great clients that are doing really well, that are in complete remission, and colonics every other week are a part of their regimen per their doctors, per their naturopath, per whoever they're working with.
And I know you said, and you were working with a health professional. Are there certain medications that, hey, if someone's taking a certain medication, you can't give them some of your therapy things, or the opposite of, if you're taking this medication, some of the side effects is there's certain toxins that are just bound in that thing that don't really,
right.
that
so
you can help with too.
So the new GLP-1s, the Ozempic, the Mounjaro, the Wegovy, the semaglutide shots and pills, they are very helpful to get colonics with those because, like I said, they're constipating. They slow your digestion. We also like to work with people who are on narcotics, because narcotic use for pain management is very constipating. I will say that certain medicines, like if you're on a water pill, I want to know why. Because it's contraindicated to do colon hydrotherapy if you have renal failure. So if you're in renal failure, you can't have that, because your colon will absorb water and
now you're working your kidneys.
And now you're working those kidneys. So so we want to take into consideration that also long-term and any type of heavy non-steroidal anti-inflammatory use, because that can thin the walls of your colon. Just from taking too much ibuprofen, it's very hard on the colon. It can cause a lot of inflammation inside the colon. People don't realize that. I talked to a lady yesterday that takes 3 ibuprofen in the evening to go to sleep. And I said, well, when your colonoscopy comes up, make sure to mention that to your GI doctor, because if he sees an unnameable type of inflammation, it could be the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory use, because even though they're anti-inflammatories, they're very hard on your gut and very hard on your colon. All
right. Well, we're about to run out of time here, so how do people find you?
Well, they can call me at 931-295-8779. I answer the phone all the time. It rings to my cell phone. They can look online at cleansewellnessspa.com, and they can even book online. We have free discovery sessions. If you book yourself in, I'll give you 30 minutes of my time in spa. You can see everything that we offer and even discuss health coaching. And we do the health coaching in person and on Zoom. Those are 30-minute sessions as well. We sell packages and all that stuff. So we're located on Market Square at 420 South Low Avenue by Dr. Todd Chiropractor and by the Cumberland Jewelry.
All right. Well, I think we're out of time. Again, join us again next week on Insurance Matchmaking. And, of course, you can suggest guests or ask questions or find out if you missed how to get a hold of Lisa at insurancematchmaking.com.
You've been listening